What happened during that school lockdown still keeps me awake at night. 3 true stories. 3 times a normal school day turned into a living nightmare. And the worst part, we never found out what happened to him. But before we dive into the darkness, make sure you click that subscribe button for mysterious clicks, because once you hear these stories, you won't be able to forget them. It was my senior year. Just another boring Friday in AP Calculus. 7th period. Spring break was only hours away, and you could feel the restless energy in that classroom. We didn't have a test that day, so Mr. Harrison, our laid-back teacher, decided to kill time by playing games with us on the projector. I remember sitting in the 3rd row, watching my friend Jake shout out answers. The room smelled like dry erase markers and teenage boredom. Some kids were already packing their bags early. Jake had just answered Adidas when it happened. The intercom crackled to life, but it wasn't the usual afternoon announcements. The dean's voice came through and it was shaking. I'd never heard him sound like that before. He said, "Attention all staff. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Initiate lockdown procedures immediately." And in that exact moment, I felt it. Chills running down my arms, goosebumps spreading across my skin. Mr. Harrison, who was always so calm, nearly tripped over his desk chair as he rushed toward the door. He slammed the lights off and locked the door in one motion, then turned to us with wide eyes and said in an urgent whisper, "Back corner, now. No phones, no talking." We all squeezed into the back corner of the classroom, away from the door's window. Sarah was next to me, her breathing quick and shallow. Nobody said a word for what felt like forever. 2 minutes of complete silence. That's when I heard it, or rather, when I stopped hearing it. The electrical panel in the back of the room always had this constant buzzing sound. You never noticed it until it stopped. And it stopped, just stopped. The whole school had lost power. Someone whispered, "Why would they cut the power?" Another student said, "Oh my God, this is real." Mr. Harrison just repeated, "Shh, stay quiet, all of you." That's when we heard him. At first, it was just distant screaming, incoherent. Like someone was yelling but the words didn't make sense. It was coming from the west end of the building, getting louder, getting closer. Sarah started to cry silently, and another girl covered her mouth with both hands. Sarah whispered barely audibly, "What's happening?" Mr. Harrison told us to stay calm and not move. And then the words became clear. A man's voice screaming at the top of his lungs, "I'll kill all of you." The sound echoed through the hallways, and every single one of us flinched. Sarah wasn't the only one crying now. 2 other girls were sobbing quietly, and you could see the panic spreading through all of us like a virus. Then came the banging, metal against metal. He was hitting the lockers as he walked down the hallway, and every bang made me jump. My heart was hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it. The man kept screaming, "Where are you? I'll kill all of you." Mr. Harrison put his finger to his lips, his eyes pleading with us to stay silent. The banging stopped moving. It stopped at our door. I watched that handle shake, and I swear to God, time slowed down. Every rattle felt like a gunshot. Then he started pounding, not knocking, pounding. The whole door was shaking in its frame. He screamed through the door, "Open up, open this door." Emma, one of the girls in our class, was hyperventilating. And then she screamed, just for one word, "No." But it was loud enough. The pounding on the door intensified, becoming frantic. The man screamed, "I hear you in there, open up now." 2 girls were now crying loudly. The door handle twisted violently, back and forth, back and forth. For a second, and I'll never forget this. I thought he was going to break through. We could hear him breathing on the other side, heavy, ragged, like an animal. And then he moved on, just like that. His footsteps continued down the hallway, the screaming getting quieter and quieter until we couldn't hear him anymore. The entire class exhaled. Some of us collapsed against the wall. Others were still shaking. We sat there in silence for another 10 minutes. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then the dean came back on the intercom, his voice calmer but still shaken. He said, "Attention staff and students. The individual has been located, and the immediate threat has been neutralized. However, all classroom doors must remain locked. We are conducting a full sweep of the building." Then he said something I'll never forget. A man entered the building through the main entrance and assaulted our front desk administrator. She fled safely. We do not know if the individual was armed. Please remain in lockdown until further notice. See, this was 2015. Our school didn't have security cameras yet. No metal detectors, no resource officer. The front doors were just open. Anyone could walk in. 20 minutes later, they let us out. Police were everywhere. But here's the thing, they never found him. They searched every classroom, every bathroom, every closet. Nothing. But that night, around 9 p.m., one of the janitors was doing his rounds in the basement. He opened a storage closet near the back stairs, and there he was, just sleeping, curled up on the floor like a child. The janitor saw something sticking out of his jacket pocket, something metallic. According to the rumors that spread the next week, it was a .44 Magnum. The janitor must have left the door open when he ran to call the police, because by the time they arrived 5 minutes later, he was gone. They never caught him. Not that day, not ever. The police said they're still looking, but honestly, I don't think they know who he is. Sometimes, when I drive past that school, I wonder if he's still out there, watching, waiting. And I wonder what would have happened if that lock hadn't held. This happened when I was in middle school, back in October. It was one of those gray, overcast days where the rain just wouldn't stop. Everything felt heavy and damp, and the cafeteria windows were covered in streaks of water running down the glass. It was first lunch period, which meant all the 6th graders and half the 7th graders were crammed into one space. The usual chaos. Kids yelling, trays clattering, the smell of pizza and whatever mystery meat they were serving that day. I was sitting with my friends Tyler and Devin, talking about absolutely nothing important when we heard it. 4 loud booms. Boom, boom, boom. They echoed through the entire cafeteria, rattling the windows. At first, most of us thought it was just thunder. I mean, it was pouring outside. Some kids even laughed. But then I saw the lunch monitors' faces go white. Campus security came bursting through the doors, and they weren't walking. They were running. Their faces were panicked, and one of them was yelling at the top of his lungs, "Multi-purpose room, everyone, now." Kids who were in line buying lunch had to just drop their trays and move. The sound of 200 students suddenly standing up at once was deafening. Chairs scraping, people asking what was happening, some of the younger kids starting to cry. They herded all of us into the multi-purpose room. It's this huge space with a back wall made entirely of glass, usually used for assemblies and events. But as soon as we got in there, security guards started running to that glass wall and pulling these heavy curtains across it, blocking out any view of the outside. Adults were stationed at every single exit, and I could see them whispering frantically into their radios. Their hands were shaking. Tyler, Devin, and I stuck together in the crowd. Everyone was confused and scared. Some kids were trying to call their parents, but the adults kept telling them to put their phones away. After about 5 minutes of this chaos, Tyler walked over to one of the security guards and asked what was going on. When he came back, His face had this look I'd never seen before, pure fear. He pulled us close and whispered, "You know those houses right in front of Riverside Middle? The ones across the street?" Devin and I nodded. "There's a guy. He barricaded himself inside his house. He's threatening to commit suicide and kill any cops that try to evict him." Tyler paused, like he didn't want to say the next part. "And he's a registered sex offender." My stomach dropped. Devin asked the question we were all thinking. Why are we in lockdown then? He's in his house, right? Tyler shook his head. "No, that's the thing. He was walking around outside the school, watching kids. They saw him on the playground during recess, just standing there by the fence, staring." The room went from confused chaos to terrified silence pretty quickly as that information spread. Parents started showing up, demanding to take their kids home early. Teachers were trying to keep everyone calm, but you could tell they were scared too. Some were reading books out loud to groups of younger kids, trying to distract them. Others were just standing by the doors, watching and waiting. We were stuck in that room for an entire hour, 2 whole class periods. Every few minutes, someone would peek through the curtains, trying to see what was happening outside. But security would immediately tell them to get away from the windows. The rain kept pounding against the glass, and with every sound, every loud noise from outside, everyone would jump. Finally, after what felt like forever, the principal came on the PA system and said the situation had been contained. Police had the man in custody, but we still weren't allowed to just go back to class like normal. They escorted us to our classrooms, one by one, in small groups, with police officers walking with us through the hallways.
I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently landed this job at my old high school as a computer technician intern. It sounds boring, but honestly, it was perfect. The job was in the school basement, which most people would find creepy. 3 big desks, 2 mini fridges stocked with drinks, a flat-screen TV mounted on the wall, and the best part? Air conditioning. Real, cold air conditioning, which was a luxury the rest of the school didn't have. Plus, all the servers and network equipment were down there, so it was my own little tech cave. I got the job because 3 of my old computer teachers from when I was a student absolutely loved me. We'd stayed friends even after I graduated, and they pulled some strings to get me this position. My 2 coworkers, Chris and Nathan, were great. They'd been working there for years and knew the school inside and out. It was a normal Wednesday afternoon. Chris and Nathan were upstairs dealing with some printer issues in the main office. So I was alone in the basement eating my lunch. Just me, my sandwich, and the constant hum of the servers. The office didn't actually have a door, just a big open entrance, and the basement door itself had a broken lock that maintenance kept saying they'd fix but never did. I'd mentioned it to Chris before, but we all just shrugged it off. I mean, who's going to break into a school basement? That's when my phone rang. It was Margaret from the front office. Her voice was shaking and she spoke fast. "Listen, we're in lockdown. Someone possibly armed has entered the building. Stay where you are, turn off your lights, and don't come upstairs under any circumstances." Then she hung up. My stomach dropped. I immediately texted Chris and Nathan, but neither of them responded. I looked around the office, realizing how exposed I was. No door to lock, no way to secure the entrance. The best I could do was turn off all the lights and shut down my computer screen so the glow wouldn't give me away. I sat there in complete darkness, just the faint sound of the servers humming and the muffled noise of footsteps from the floors above me. 20 minutes passed. It felt like hours. I kept checking my phone every few seconds, playing stupid games to keep my mind occupied, but my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold it. Still no response from Chris or Nathan. I had no idea what was happening upstairs. No idea if my friends were safe. The isolation down there was suffocating. Then I heard it, the basement door creaking open at the top of the stairs. My heart stopped. I thought maybe it was Chris or Nathan coming down to hide with me, but something in my gut told me not to call out. The footsteps came running down the stairs, fast and heavy, heading straight for the office. I pushed my chair back as quietly as I could and crawled under my desk, curling up in the darkness. The footsteps entered the office but didn't turn on the lights. Whoever it was just stood there, silent. I held my breath, trying not to move, not to make a single sound. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. The silence was unbearable. Every second felt like an eternity. I was convinced that if I made even the smallest noise, it would be over. Then my phone dinged. A text message. The sound echoed through the silent office like a gunshot. I felt my entire world collapse in that moment. My teeth clenched, my whole body went rigid with fear. The footsteps moved closer, slow, deliberate steps toward my desk. I couldn't take it anymore. I dove out from under the desk, holding my hands up, and I just started begging. "Please don't kill me, please!" Someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up to my feet. It was a man, red plaid shirt, jeans, and a reddish-black baseball cap. He looked at me with this confused expression and said, "It's okay, man. I'm just hiding down here with you. What the hell is going on up there?" I was breathing hard, trying to catch my breath. "I don't know." They called and said someone with a weapon is in the building. He looked around nervously and asked, "Is there an exit down here? Can we get out?" I pointed toward the back of the basement. "Yeah, there's a door around that way." Before he could move, I asked, "Wait, who are you?" There was this brief pause, and then he explained, "I came in to pick up my son. Some teacher told me to hide when everything started. I just ran down here." Then my phone buzzed again. I glanced down at the text from Chris. My blood went ice cold as I read it. "Dude, this is insane. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Patterson. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I looked up slowly at the man standing in front of me. Red shirt, red hat. For a split second, we just stared at each other, and I saw the exact moment he realized that I knew. His face changed. The friendly, confused expression vanished, replaced by something darker. I ran. I didn't think. I just bolted for the stairs. The gunshot was so loud in that enclosed space that it felt like my eardrums would burst. I heard the bullet ricochet off one of the metal server racks behind me. Sparks flying. I didn't look back. I just ran up those stairs faster than I've ever moved in my life. When I burst through the basement door, 2 police officers were standing right there. They grabbed me and pulled me to the side, asking if I was hurt. I told them there was a man with a gun in the basement. They drew their weapons and positioned themselves at the door. Seconds later, the man opened the basement exit door from the inside, probably trying to escape. The officers were on him immediately. They had him on the ground in cuffs before he could even process what was happening. I found out later that Mr. Patterson, one of the English teachers, had been shot in the shoulder but survived. Apparently, he and the shooter had some kind of history, some personal beef that nobody ever told us the details about. The school administration kept it all very quiet, just saying it was a targeted incident and that Patterson would make a full recovery. Chris and Nathan found me sitting in the hallway afterwards, still shaking. They'd been locked in a classroom upstairs the whole time. Chris kept apologizing for not responding to my texts earlier, but his phone had been on silent. I still work at that school. They finally fixed the basement door lock after that, installed cameras, and added an actual door to the office. But I can't go down there alone anymore. Every time I hear footsteps on those stairs, my heart races. And the sound of that gunshot, the way it echoed through the basement, the metallic ping of the bullet hitting the server rack, is burned into my memory. I hear it every single night before I fall asleep.
These stories are real. They happen to real people. And the scariest part, they could happen again. If you've ever experienced a school lockdown or know someone who has, share your story in the comments below. Let's keep each other aware. Let's stay vigilant. And if these stories kept you on edge, make sure you're subscribed to Mysterious Clicks with notifications on, because I post terrifying true stories like these every single day. Stay safe out there.